This interview was originally published in the March 17th and March 18th, 1925 editions of the Birmingham Age-Herald. Henry Ford scoffs at talk of too many automobiles. Henry Ford, who says the world's consumption of automobiles is only at its beginning, although 20 million are now in operation. Wireless transmission of power may revolutionise industry, by John F. Sinclair. In 1903, Henry Ford was a first-class mechanic, aged 40, working for wages, dreaming, tinkering, thinking, hoping. 22 years later, we find the same quiet, unaffected, apparently easygoing dreamer, still tinkering, still hoping. But he is now the world's richest man, employing directly and indirectly more than 500,000 people, owning railroads, iron ore mines, glass factories, steamboats, sawmills, timberlands, coke ovens, foundries, power plants, the greatest on earth, glass furnaces, silica beds, wood distillation plants and garnet mines, and possessing more cash in the bank than any other individual or corporation in the history of the world. Today, his 62 years press lightly upon him, for his blood pressure is that of a boy under 20. Active, alert, quick in thought and speech, didactic in expression, his vast business enterprises now encircling the globe do not seem to give him a care. He keeps no office hours, he has no regular office, he just drops in at the different offices of his managers, chats with them, philosophises and dreams, not of the past, but of the future. Mr. Ford, when is America going to reach the saturation point in the manufacture and sales of automobiles, I asked him. His face was a study. The impulsive smile vanished. Saturation point, that's a phrase used by economists, I think, he began. In America, we now have more than 17 million automobiles. People used to talk about 1 million cars as the limit for us, then 5 million, then 10, then 15. Now we have 17 million in use, yet in 1924 we produced 3 million more. This year looks like another large automobile production year. Our factories are turning out about 7,500 cars per day at the present time. The man who has manufactured more cars than all the rest of the automobile manufacturers of the world combined talked quietly, unaffectedly. There will, of course, come a time when the annual automobile production in the United States will be larger than the total sales within the United States. But the United States has only 1/15 of the population of the world and 80% of the automobiles of the world. We will enter actively into world trade. We will sell our surplus cars outside of the United States and Canada. He was asked to elaborate on this point. We in America can live within ourselves, he declared. We can even raise rubber. We can place a tariff wall about ourselves high enough to keep out the goods for other countries if we so desire. But I, for one, do not favour that narrow, provincial policy. I am for free trade, unrestricted and unhampered among the nations of the world. The free, natural, unhampered and unrestricted trade between the 48 states of the United States is a perfect demonstration of the line that world trade should follow. And such a course will be followed when we come to know that all tinkering and monkeying with natural free trade hurts and restricts all legitimate business and industry. Such world trade, based on labour and fair exchange of goods and no favours, does not need armies and navies for its protection. It needs only the goodwill and confidence of friendly neighbours, who have been helped and not hurt by its development. No, the so-called saturation point in the automobile industry is a myth. So far as we are concerned, production of cars has only just started. Mr. Ford was asked if the basic automobile construction principles used at present are likely to continue. Perhaps, but who can tell? Change is the order of both life and industry. I see no revolutionary basic change in sight, but if the wireless transmission of power becomes a reality, for example, the whole industry might experience a complete change. Only future developments and discoveries can answer this question. Interested in lives and homes. I am primarily interested in building lives and homes, he went on, when asked as to his reason for buying out all the stockholders of the Ford Motor Company. We really have no place for the non-working stockholder. He is usually more interested in dividends than in men. If at any time it becomes a question between lowering wages or abolishing dividends, I would abolish dividends. It is bad financial policy to reduce wages, because it also reduces buying power, you see. There is no charity in wages. Here we see Henry Ford, the dreamer of practical dreams, in action. There is something sacred about wages, he continued. They represent homes and families and domestic destinies. People ought to tread very carefully when approaching wages. While on the cost sheet wages are mere figures, out in the works wages are bread boxes and coal bins, baby carriages, children's education, family comfort and contentment. Keep the home happy by keeping the shop busy. Profits, what are they if they are not used to make doubly secure the home, dependent on the shop, and to create more jobs for other men? Mr. Ford became reflective. Money is a tool, it is just part of the machinery. One might as well borrow 100,000 pumps as $100,000 if the trouble is inside the business. More pumps will not cure it, neither will more money. Borrowing to cover waste or mismanagement or both is just like a drunkard taking another drink to cure the effect of the last one. It makes the condition only worse. Take the case of the railroads. There is scarcely a railroad in the United States that has not been through one or more receiverships, due to the fact that the financial interests piled on load after load of securities until the structure grew top-heavy and fell over. Then they got in on the receivership, made money at the expense of the gullible security holders, and started the same old pyramiding game all over again. Efficiency versus money. The natural ally of the banker is the lawyer. Such games as have been played on the railroads have needed expert legal advice. Lawyers, like bankers, know absolutely nothing about business. They live on rules. The bankers took finance out of the hands of the managers, instead of operating under the rule of common sense and according to circumstances. Every railroad has to operate on the advice of counsel. Rules spread through every part of the organisation. Then came the avalanche of state and federal regulation. Until today we find the railroads hogtied in a mass of rules. With the lawyers and financiers on the inside, and the various state commissions on the outside, the railway manager has little chance. That's the trouble with the railways. Business cannot be conducted by law. Bankers too often think solely in terms of money. They think of a factory as making money, not goods. They want to watch the money, not the efficiency of production. Ford is turning thoughts to air, friends believe. Financial system has not kept pace with industry, he says. We were sitting in the office of the editor of the Dearborn Independent. It happened that on this day the Army flyers were expected there to dedicate the new Ford flying field, 12 miles outside of Detroit and just across from the Ford automobile plant at Dearborn. While we were talking, the hum of the engines overhead attracted our attention. Going to the window, we saw the leader and 13 other planes arriving in battle formation. We stood there at the window. "Over there," said Mr. Ford, "I have laid out 600 acres for a new flying field. It is level and close to Detroit. It should make an excellent landing place, but I can make it 1,200 acres or 1,500 acres if necessary." Of late, Mr. Ford has become intensely interested in the whole problem of aviation. Across the way, on the flying field, during the past few months there has been erected a small factory for the building of a certain type of airplane. The directors of this new manufacturing organisation include some of the most able businessmen in the country. The names of Edsel Ford and Mr. Mayo, chief engineer of the Ford Motor Company, appear on the list. Is Mr. Ford becoming interested in the new science of aircraft? Some people who know the working of Mr. Ford's mind believe that he is. But Mr. Ford was not talking about the airplane development then. As we continued to look at the landings of the army men, Mr. Ford, looking out of the window, continued in his fluent way. "No financial system is good which favours one class of producers over another," he said. "I think production has become so changed in its methods that gold is not the best medium with which it can be measured. And the gold standard as a control of credit, as it now administered, gives class advantage. Why? Because now the check credit is the amount of gold in the country, regardless of the amount of wealth in the country. You understand I am not a soft money advocate, neither are the people of this country. On the contrary, the people have always been on the side of sound money." Mr. Ford, just what do you mean by sound money? Money is part of our transportation system. It is a simple and direct agency used for conveying goods from one person to another. Sound money is essential to both industry and to progress. But money as a medium of exchange must not fluctuate in value. A foot is always 12 inches, but when is a dollar a dollar? If the ton weights changed in the coal yard and the peck measures changed in the grocery and the yardsticks were 42 inches today and 32 inches tomorrow, the people would soon make them sound and reliable and honest again. Just so. Now, when a 100-cent dollar becomes worth a 65-cent dollar, and then a 47-cent dollar, as the gold and silver ones apparently do, something is radically wrong somewhere. Gold standard or no gold standard. A dollar that stays 100 cents is as necessary as a pound that stays 16 ounces and a yard that stays 36 inches. Understand me, I am not against sound money. I am in favour of it, but the mechanism of money today is old-fashioned. It has not kept pace with the development of other mechanisms of industry. A financial engineer seems to me to be the need today. I believe the whole problem of money and credit, in its natural relationship to legitimate work and industry, is the next big major problem facing the world for solution. The problem will not be solved quickly. It seems difficult for people to understand what money was created for. That makes the solution more difficult. You understand that I am not a victim of the present system. It does not matter to me personally whether the system is changed or not, but I am looking at it from the standpoint of future world progress. One of the questions to which Mr. Ford is giving considerable attention is that of good roads. He said, "I have always believed that good roads and cheap transportation will solve all our major problems. They will enable people to come together, get acquainted, discuss and exchange ideas. Then the difficult problems themselves will dissolve." Do you think that too much money is being spent on good roads today? Too much money is being spent for the results which we are getting, he replied quickly. The costs can be practically cut in two. Take the matter of interest. At 5% compounded, the principal will double in 15 years. That is to say, twice as much money will be spent for the roads in a period of 15 years with this interest attached. Here you see it is a problem of interest expense primarily. It is not the expense of building the roads, it is the expense of getting money to build the roads. I cannot see any rational reason why roads cannot be built by the government issuing non-interest bearing scrip to be used as a medium of exchange by the people, and to be liquidated out of the taxes raised by the people for good roads. I know such an opinion is not considered orthodox, but it would cut road costs in two, wouldn't it? And what the people want, and really must have, are good roads at the lowest possible cost. I see no danger to sound money in this, because under such an arrangement, the scrip issued would be tied up to the taxing power of the state. After a plain, substantial lunch at the little frame cottage across from the factory at Dearborn, we went out to observe the manoeuvres of the flyers. Nosedives, spirals, tail twisters. At last, only 14 specks could be seen against a blue sky. Henry Ford watched until they had faded out of the picture. He has put the world on wheels. His genius could put the world on wings. He turned around and spoke to a few friends nearby. "That's right," he said. "Let the government do the experimenting, the constructive work in airplane development. Then let production be turned out by private initiative. For in America, we have the mechanical ability and financial resources to do what must be done, whether the task be an old or a new one. But that's another story." Thanks for watching. Please let me know what you thought in the comments, and please also consider watching another one of my videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.